Good morning once again, students. In the previous video, we studied about what is overpopulation, what is underpopulation, and how we decide on a population of a country. Now, whatever population densities various countries have, they have some impacts over them. So today we're going to study about the impact of overpopulation and underpopulation. When there are more number of people in any area, we see that there are a lot of congestion, traffic jams in the city. Pollution is a problem. Health and sanitation is an issue. Like, for example, if I give you an example of Delhi, when you see any news item, when you see something happening in Delhi, you find so many cars, one after the other, lined up, waiting at traffic signals to move on. And the traveling time for a person traveling from point A to point B increases because of that congestion in the city. That is all due to the overpopulation of a place. Then, of course, the pollution will increase when there are more number of vehicles running on the road, when there are more industries operating in that place. So automatically the pollution level also rises. When there are more number of people, when there are population area is overpopulated, then the government is not able to take care of its people fully, and therefore health and sanitation problems also arise. Then the quality of laborers, the manual labor, the maids working in our homes, the laborer working at a construction site, working in an industry, their wages go down, their salaries go down. That means manual labor becomes cheap, and therefore there is a risk that they might get exploited. For example, just to quote an example, supposing I need a maid to work at my home, and I have all this work to be done: sweeping, mopping, cleaning of utensils, washing of clothes, and there are 2 or 3 maids coming into my colony, and somebody is ready to work for 2000 a month and somebody else offers me 1500 a month. I would obviously go for a person who is going to give me all that work for 1500 rupees. So that means I'm exploiting the person who's ready to work at 1500 because jobs are less available. So manual labor becomes cheap, and therefore there is a risk of exploitation. Apart from that, then since some people are earning more, others are earning less, so there is a lot of disparity or a difference between the earning capacity of every member. So the standard of living also changes. You might have noticed around you only that some of you can afford to go to holidays outside India. You are quite comfortable with international tourism, and the others might not be able to go out of India on a regular basis. Some of them probably might not be able to go out within India also. So that all depends upon the difference of standard of living. So that all also happens because of overpopulation. Now, what, like for example, uh, uh, class conflict you must have seen around your own neighbors, the societies where you're staying. Some of you must be wearing good brands at all the time, and the others might not be able to buy those brands on a regular basis. They might have kept a few clothes for going out, but at home they might not be wearing a branded clothing. That is the impact of overpopulation. Now, for the impact of underpopulation. In overpopulation, the manual labor was cheap and easily available. In underpopulation, manual labor is not available. There is a dearth, there is a shortage, there is a problem of manual labor. Then whatever resources the nature has given you, they are not being properly utilized because the people to utilize there is absent, they are not present. And when the natural resources are not being utilized in a proper manner, therefore the economy is also very slow. Industries are less number of people are working, less output, less yield, and therefore the economy condition also decreases. That is what happens in a place where the area is underpopulated. Next, why is any area having more number of people and why there are certain areas with less number of people? There could be reasons behind it, and for those reasons there are certain factors which control the number or the amount of population present in a particular place. First type of factor is natural or physical factor. In this, we include climate, relief, soil, and water. Let's take two examples, Iceland and India. If you're given an opportunity, or rather your parents have given an opportunity as to what climate would they like to live in and bring up their family and work, many of us would not prefer to live in Iceland because the climatic conditions are very harsh. It is a very, very cold country and there is snow on the ground for the entire year, and living in those conditions is not easy. So people prefer to stay in tropical climates, that is neither very hot nor very cold. When such kind of climates are preferred, that is why countries like India, parts of China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, many countries of of Africa like Egypt, Somalia, and South America like Brazil, Colombia, they are overpopulated because they fall in the category of neither very hot nor very cold climates. It's a very pleasant climate to stay in, and therefore people prefer to stay in these areas, and therefore these areas are overpopulated generally. Then relief. Relief means flat grounds, mountainous areas, deserts. Where would you like to stay? So people prefer to stay in plains where you have rivers nearby, transportation is easier, cultivation is easier, water is available, and therefore they prefer to stay in plain areas other than staying in mountainous or plateau areas. Then, of course, in prehistoric times, the only occupation we knew was how to grow food, that is agriculture. And therefore, our ancestors, they preferred to stay in areas with fertile soil. So, soil is also a major factor which decides whether there will be more population or less population. And therefore, you have seen yourself that if you talk about India, places near Ganga and Yamuna are heavily populated, densely populated. We have UP, Bihar, West Bengal. These places are densely populated because of river Ganga and Yamuna flowing through these states. And then, of course, water, which is the universal solvent, a very important aspect of survival, and therefore, wherever water availability is there, population will always be more. So, our earliest civilization like Harappa, that Indus, all these civilization, Mesopotamian, Chinese, they all started around a river. So, water becomes a very, very important factor for any kind of population. Next factor is socio-economic factor, where today we think about urbanization, industrialization, and our socio-cultural growth. Now, urbanization means you have cities, you have well transport systems, you have good education, medical facilities are good, jobs are plenty available. So this is what urbanization is. Industrialization, of course, we prefer places with more job opportunities, and therefore industrialization becomes a major factor in the decision of a area where a person decides to live. Then cultural factors, that means you tend to live in places where political stability is more. That means there are no wars, there is no political strikes happening on a regular basis. So you prefer to live in a secure environment. Now, for example, we all know that Iran and Syria and Yemen and all these are continuously at war with each other. Now, if you compare the population of Syria with the population of any other country which is at peace right now, you will find that Syria has hardly any number of people staying there because there is no stability and you have a lot of problems with the neighboring countries. Same is the case with Afghanistan. The population is trying to flee from that country because there is no political stability in that area. Now, supposing we've talked about the kind of population, underpopulation, overpopulation, what are the factors which decide which places are overpopulated and which places are underpopulated? People, when they are born, they are counted by the census. There is every 5 years, the government sends its representatives to count the number of people which were born in the past 5 years, and they find out how many deaths have also occurred in the same period of time. So this is called as your birth and death rate, which is also called as, birth rate is also called as the natality rate and death rate is called as the mortality rate. Now this is birth rate is number of births which happened for every 1,000 people, which is called as your birth rate, and number of deaths which have occurred for every 1,000 individuals, which is called as your death rate. So birth and death rate will depend upon the number of people, per number of 1,000 number of people, and then we decide on the birth and the death rate.